Night. Oh, do get to see that. Do get to see that. Billy Crystal. Terribly underrated movie. It's just a wonderful bit of work.
Brilliant.
Oh, did you see it?
No, I've seen the trailers. Oh yeah,
I must have seen it's quite wonderful. It didn't have what it takes apparently to be box office, but I mean it's just such a wonderful bit of cinematic work. Great characterization of a real had-it jaded comedian on the Borscht Belt circuit in America. It's just great.
Yeah, there's something else I was looking at. There was actually, I think that aired first on TV a few years ago. That was a similar kind of. It was an old sort of Finnish comedian who was on circuit. I mean, came from the States and was on sort of circuit in the north of England. It was kind of really
I know the kiddie that did that. Yes.
I remember just watching something. It was also kind of like a bit of a gangland thing as well, because there was people being murdered left, right, and centre.
He's sort of. He's about 30. He's about mid-30s. The guy, the comedian, is about mid-30s. And he had a voice that's really like that. Now, one of those kinds of voices. I know that actor. Yeah, he's a good kid. He's great. He was the nutcase in radio, in Talk Radio film. Did you ever see? Yeah, did you see Talk Radio? The kid that bounds in at one point. It's the same guy that played the comedian. I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Let's talk. Hey.
Well, okay. Well, if everything is on, well, the first question: what was the main reason that pushed you to become again, if I might say, a solo artist after 6 years? I think.
Oh, hi. Do you know? I don't know. It's a big regret. Because that means I've taken all the responsibilities for myself again. I'm now responsible for my own actions. It's not a pleasant place to be. And I think probably because I don't know. There are just some things that you can't do with a guitar band, and there are some types of music. Because I wanted to play the saxophone again a lot. You know, there's areas of jazz that I wanted to work within, and I think working with the Black Tie album allowed me to do that.
And do you think, are you able to have, which is a very rare gift, a critical point of view on what you did in the past, on all the things you did?
Well, I know everything that's bad, yes. And in terms of what's good, I know what I find satisfying. I know what's good about what I've done, in terms of if it's artistically good. I'd have no idea what other people think is good or bad about my work. But yeah, I'm very self-critical about what I've done.
And do you find that it often or very rarely match what other people, critics or the buying public think?
I don't know. I don't know, because the viewpoints just vary so greatly. You know, some people will like something tremendously and other people won't. So I think it's very unwise to take much notice of what anybody else thinks.
And what does it take for you to be reassured in a way? Do you need to feel that when you released an album or a single? You wait for some signals or some things to
a general habit makes me go straight into another piece of work immediately I finished one. So already I finished another album since Black Tie, White Noise, and I'm working on a third. So for me, there comes a point. I mean, recently it's been really great in terms of the last since about '89 that I just haven't stopped writing. I'm just writing all the time. It's like pumping music out all the time. A lot of it's very bad, but at least it's happening all the time. So for me, it's just continually moving from one project to another, which is great.
And when was the first time that you actually discovered black music? Because there's always, you know, something that reminds us that.
Well, the first time I heard American black music was, I mean, I'd heard it when I was a kid in a town in South London called Brixton. There was a lot of music at that time called blue beat and ska. It was mainly Caribbean music. But I think the first time that black music really made a sort of a real major difference in what I was listening to was when I was about 8, and somebody bought me some Little Richard records, and that was it. I was really hooked on American rhythm and blues at that time. Then when I went back into blues and like Jungle Hooker and Muddy Waters and et al., And then I've just been always very drawn to American rap music.
Because you think also because of the attitude, because it's always been a music very that goes with certain lifestyles, that's got a certain flamboyance.
No, the lifestyle, no, it was never really part of it. No, it was great music. That's all. But it doesn't rule out other kinds of music. I mean, I think I'm pretty Catholic in my taste. I mean, I also like Vaughan Williams and Elgar. So, you know, it's, I like music.
And what were the conditions that brought you to record the Young Americans album, which was your stepping inside the
Wow.
American R&B?
I think finding myself in Philadelphia, having mountains of cocaine available to me, and some very good musicians. I think that's where Young Americans came from, basically, if I remember rightly.
And one thing I've well, always, at least since I know the tune, there's a tune by James Brown called Hot, I Need to Be Loved, 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 which came out in '75 and which is exactly, or close to exactly the same type of rhythmic pattern than the Fame.
Yes, Carlos Alomar, my guitar player, who wrote that riff, used to be with the James Brown band. And he tells me that what he heard was that Brown actually took Fame into the studio and had his band play to it to make that track, which I'd be very flattered to believe that.
Both tracks are brilliant, so it doesn't really matter. And what was your initial reaction to the emergence of a strong rap militant music back in the, well, let's say beginning of the 80s? How did you first react to it when it was?
It was actually a lot earlier than that, you know.
I mean, the militant side, you know, like the taking stances, like you know, speaking about Nation of Islam or more.
Yeah, I mean, but it was much earlier than that. The history goes back a lot further than the early 80s. I mean, the first real strong politically motivated rap music was by the Last Poets in America, with things like The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. I think that was late 60s.
That was Jill Scott Heron, actually.
Yes, that's right, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Yeah, now for me, those were the roots of rap. And that kind of actually, at the time, I guess it would have been considered free poetry against jazz. And there was Kwesi Johnson as well in England was doing some great things in the middle 70s. And he was also, I think, one of the cornerstones of so it wasn't a surprise, I think. I think the surprise was that it took so long to actually surface and be assimilated by the public. I mean, because it had been there for many, many years.
And what when it came when rap music came to be linked with in a way with religion, with the Islam movement, the Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan and such, did it make you think differently, or did it make you? What did it make you think? It was certainly.
I wouldn't like to comment on that.
Okay. And about the participation of I'll Be Sure to the Black Tie White Noise. Did you want a soul singer? Did you consider having rappers as guests at one point?
Never rappers. No, I wanted I wanted somebody from the Afro-American community to sing the song with me. If anybody, I had in fact written it for somebody else to work with me doing it, but that particular person was working on his own album and just didn't feel that he could give his time to it. Was working on his own stuff, and I'll Be Sure stepped in and said he wanted to do it, so that's why I worked with him on it.
Who was the missing person?
I can't say.
And about the you did quite a few movies. Some of them I read you rather forgot. Do you have memories of some that you?
No, I've forgotten.
Okay. No, and about the Gigolo movie, which was what year was that? 79?
Yes.
End of the 70s.
Yes, it certainly was the end of the 70s. That's a good critique of it.
That was no, because I just finished the Marlene Dietrich biography, and
I haven't read it.
No, but it's part trash, you know. But I know that some things are interesting. But the way our daughter describes the shooting of the two sequences with Marlene seemed to be such a chaos that the rest of the film, I guess, was.
I think the whole thing was terribly chaotic. It was. I think that we all knew within a few days of starting work on it that the film was going to be awful. And so we just decided to have a good time, which we did. I mean, it was a very enjoyable film to make.
Is there a movie that you made which you are proud of, or that you want to claim as being worthy to put in your biography?
What biography is this? I think there are several films that I enjoyed working in and that I think are worth seeing. I think Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence is one that I like a lot. Man Who Fell to Earth. I think probably for me the most exciting film to work on was Martin Scorsese's Last Temptation of Christ. I think that was, I think he's one of the most magnificent filmmakers in America, and he was just a gem to watch.
Did it surprise you or make you mad, the hysterical reaction that followed the release of the movie? Mind you, especially in Paris and in Europe, maybe not so much in America. But
oh, it was extraordinary in America.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was equally as...
Yeah, no, but you know, in Paris someone died in the movie because, you know, there's some nutcase brought some tear gas in the theater. And
no, I didn't know that.
Weak Heart died in the cinema.
Yeah.
Kind of,
yeah. Yeah.
And when to go back to music and to the past, when you did the album Heroes, was it out of irony that you chose that title? I'm saying that because later on you commented on that time as being, you know, like also very chaotic and kind of.
Well, it was a choice of either heroes or villains, so I chose heroes. I took the soft option.
And is it mainly because you were fascinated by Berlin that there's that one finds this kind of weird, decayed atmosphere?
I actually wasn't fascinated by Berlin per se. I was fascinated by the circumstances of the city. It was a strange tension between a capitalist preoccupation and an extreme left-wing population. So it had fascinating frictions within it. I also felt very strongly for the actual school of art that came out of Berlin in around 1914, German Expressionism. And as I was painting quite a lot at that particular time, I really wanted to get back to that source as well. So I was spending a lot of time places like the Brücke Museum, looking at Kirchner and Heckel and Schmidt-Rottluff and people like that. It was a small school. It was, but I guess they were really was the Brücke means die Brücke was the bridge, and it was more or less about wearing the inner agonies on your sleeve. I mean, it was a new approach to primitivism that sprung up in early Germany, in revolt against what was happening politically in Germany at the turn of the century. And I had a lot of empathy with those particular painters. And ironically, at the time that I was there, the Neue Expressionism was starting with people like Middendorf and Penck. And so I guess it was one of the most stimulating cities to be in the late 70s, with also its new fascination with electronic music, coming out of Düsseldorf and coming down into Berlin, bands like Neu and Kraftwerk and the new painters, and the strange zeitgeist of the politics there. It produced a very strange, a fantastic atmosphere if you're an artist. There's so much fracturing. Everything was fragmented. It was the weirdest place. Weird place.
Can you imagine? And what?
There was a nightclub there. This is Iggy went down. I didn't actually see it myself, but Iggy was also living there with his girlfriend at the same time. On one of the anniversaries of the Wall, I guess it must have been about 78, he went down to a punk club at about 3 in the morning, and they had made a birthday cake of the Wall, of the Mauer, all the way around the room. Huge with the little towers on and everything. And at midnight, all the punks dove in and ripped the wall apart and ate it. Is that wonderful? That is such an extreme image of Berlin.
How long can one live in such a
Not long.
weird condition?
Not long. It's not long. 3 years was enough. More than enough.
Speaking about Iggy Pop, did you meet him at the time of Raw Power or earlier before?
I met him in 1972. Was he at Max's Kansas City, and it was a hell of a night. I mean, it was myself, Lou Reed. We'd never met each other, any of us, so we were thrown together at this one table. It was myself, Lou Reed, and Iggy Pop at one table. It was a very strange night.
Hope someone was here to take the photos.
I remember them picking the food up.
And when you did the production of Iggy Pop's Raw Power, what was
Hardly a production.
well, what was it because, I mean, you know, looking at it now, it might seem like the easy, you know, like, oh, you know, maybe Bowie is fascinated with this extreme type of, you know, music.
Oh, I
or
was
whatever.
very fascinated with Iggy and the Stooges. I thought they were probably the most important band in America. I still feel that they were one of the most important bands in America.
But you thought you could do something for them musically, or was it just a matter of survival? Or, because, you know, I mean, it's been read often since then, you know, like you take out, you know, Iggy Pop out of the garbage can or whatever, you know.
Oh, I think that's rubbish. I mean, Iggy is an extreme talent in his own right. I still think that poetically he's one of the few writers in America whose lyrics you can take away from the music and they stand up as poetry. And he has a great wit. He's a very funny man, great sense of irony. I think if he wished to, he could turn his hand to just doing straight prose without having to do music if he didn't want to. I think he was having an awful lot of problems at the time, and I had the means to be able to help him, you know, get out of some of the bad things that were happening to him, and so I just tried my best, you know.
And
he seems very happy. I mean, we spoke about 6 days ago, and he's very, very. I think he's very, very happy with life now. He's got a wonderful marriage, and I think he's writing really well now.
Funny thing is that actually I'm meeting him tomorrow at 12 o'clock in Paris.
Oh, do give him my best regard. Tell him, hey, I was there.
Okay.
He's a terrific guy.
One thing, reading the numerous interviews that you gave recently, one thing that got me is that you tend to speak very freely about drugs, about your past in drugs, about the way it affected you, good or bad. Do you think that something like what's called now designer drugs can have, in a way, the same good or bad effects that
I am not
people?
an authority on drugs.
No, but you know, I mean,
My
generally,
past will tell you that.
when you tend to speak about, you know, artists that have a career, you know,
Yeah.
generally don't comment on that, or they say,
Yeah.
you know, it was the past or so, but
You know
you're
something,
very
I can't
honest
give
about it.
any, I really, the only opinion that I could ever give on any of those things is in regards to myself. I know absolutely nothing about designer drugs. The only drugs I know about, the ones that I took, I know what they did to me. I have absolutely no advice or any words of caution for anybody. Everybody has to do what they have to do.
But anyway, you were able to, in that respect, to grasp house music for its musical content and not what was going aside it.
Repeat that, sorry. Say that again.
In that respect, then you were able to appreciate house music for its musical side.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
Because
yes.
now it's like, you know, I mean, some extreme.
Well, you know,
type
yeah. Also, I know people who are very heavily involved in house music, and not everybody that makes house music is out of their heads. You know, believe me. Maybe a lot of the audience is, but possibly. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else. But I mean, I know a lot of the artists who make it are not necessarily stoned.
For the artist, it may be better, but to listen to 150 BPM tunes.
I have no problem.
Yeah?
No, not at all. No.
I stop at 135.
No, it's
it's like, okay.
No, I like the visceral exchange of like high frenetic music. I think that's very exciting.
And how do you react, or do you react to the lots of things that have been published about you, whether unauthorized biographies or guerrilla press? Is it of any importance?
Straws in the wind.
Yeah. Has it always been like that for you?
Yes, it's always been like that. There's always been biographies on me. There's something like 40 now. It's after the 15th or 16th, you just don't care anymore.
But do you care about setting the record straight on your side? You didn't want to have an authorized.
Who cares?
Well, apparently lots of people.
Not really, you know.
Maybe not for good reasons, but.
I don't think they really care.
And what do you think is? Do you think there are some things that are necessary for people to care about your music?
No.
After a while,
No. It's only important what I think about my music. That's the only thing that's important. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about my music.
So that means that you never take into account the number of units sold or the.
Me? I don't sell records. No. I'm not a big selling album artist. I am much better known than the number of albums that I sell. I'm not a. Who sells albums? More or less everybody else. I'm not. I just chipped and worked and hacked away at trying to really establish some interesting ideas in music, and that's my job. That's what I do. And what do you want done? Okay, I'll do that. Something that's really important to kind of set up an interesting structure in music. That's my job.
Last question: when you started in the music business, or at one point of your career, did you think that being 46 years old was being old, or that it wasn't the time when you?
No, really, I was very fortunate in as much that a lot of my heroes were older men. People like William Burroughs, for instance, is a perfect example. And so for me, there was something always quite enticing about the idea of being the older, probably wiser, traveling person, mentally and physically traveling, and that always appealed to me. So I embrace the older years, and I must admit that I think I've probably never been happier. Isn't that disappointing?
Well, no, not all journalists want to see misfits or people that are, doing bad albums and doing bad with their career. It's actually kind of nice to meet some people with their heads on their shoulders and making listenable records.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Even at 46. This is the painful part, maybe. Could I ask you more?
Now, wouldn't it be embarrassing if I was wearing the same shirt?
Well, you've got a cross and I've got an angel.
Thank God it's not the same one. Well, I've had this one a long time. That's actually happened before. I've been asked to sign photographs of myself like 12 years ago and actually wearing the same shirt. Like, God. Well, I look after my clothes. Wow.
Name's Olivier.
Olivier. Okay, through the eye. Oh, and this one now. So, where are you seeing Jim tomorrow?
It's at the Royal Monceau.
Ah. Is he just starting there?
Yeah, it's just. I think it's his first day of promotion for the American Caesar album.
Is he doing shows or just doing
promotion? Just promotion.
Oh, what a
He's doing
shame!
The shows in. I think it's in October or November.
Great.
So he'll be doing
Great. So I'll probably, because I haven't seen him yet on the tour, so I can't wait. Apparently the show is wonderful.
If it's as bad this is for a couple of friends actually.
Okay.
You're so popular. When it's called Eric.
Only two?
Well, actually. No,
Eric.
Is for Eric, yeah.
Yeah, you were saying about his shows?
Yeah, if it looks as bad on in the shows than on the cover, I mean, it's you've seen the cover.
No, I haven't seen the cover. I haven't got the album yet.
He's bare-chested and he's like, but you know, like all the anger of the world in the two eyes and the facelift. You know, like,
It's expressionist anger.
oh, yeah.
And who is this one for?
Laurent.
Laurent. Okay, there you go. You haven't got his album with you?
No, actually.
Okay.
I left it in Paris.
No problem. Well, give him my regards and tell him I'll catch up with him soon.
I definitely will.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
That was pleasant.
Oh, I got it.
Thank you.
Okay.